Staying motivated in prison is super important. It's so easy for people to lose hope and to fall into a pattern of despair and despondency, and they want to just pull the head over their, rather the covers over their head and just disappear. But that's not the pathway to success, and it's why our team at Prison Professors really encourages people to read, but don't just read for entertainment. Read deliberately, and after every time you read a book while you're in prison, we really encourage you to think about it critically, to figure out, what am I really learning from reading these books? Then we encourage people also to begin memorializing what they're reading so that when they get out of prison and they have to interact with potential stakeholders, like people that might give them a job or a probation officer that might open an opportunity for them to have a higher level of liberty at an earlier time. Well, we want that person to have some tools, tactics, and resources, and book reports are a great way of doing that. It's why we always encourage people who are going into the system, think about what you're going to be reading and think about how you're going to use these tools to position yourself for a better outcome. And that's what we have here. We've got one of the members of our community who has really taken this advice seriously, and he's been writing these book reports for every book that he read. I'm talking about Jeff Pica. I've read a couple of his book reports previously, but I'm going to continue doing so because I think it's so important for people to be thinking about their journey, not only through prison, but when they come home, and they can always be learning from other people. So today I'm going to read his review of The Boys in the Boat, a book by Daniel James Brown. And we always recommend that people just really answer three simple questions: why I read the book, what I learned from reading the book, and three, how the book is going to contribute to my success. Let's see how our friend Jeff responded to those questions. My mother, an avid reader, recommended that I read The Boys in the Boat. I grew up watching my mother read during her spare time. Her growing book collection inspired me to pick up a book when I had time. She taught me that by reading, I could always learn something. My parents live in Washington State, and this book, The Boys in the Boat, tells the story about a group of mostly farm kids who used to live in the 1930s. They attended the University of Washington to participate in one of the best college rowing teams in the country. Eventually, the team took aim at the Nazi team and prepared to beat them during the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, Germany. I looked forward to reading the story. We frequently hear about grit when we learn about the discipline of athletes. Those who reach the top overcome obstacles and achieve the ultimate goal of turning professional or winning an Olympic medal. During 1936, the Olympic athletes had to struggle through the Great Depression. And in The Boys in the Boat, we learned about an athlete from a divided family with a stepmother who didn't want anything to deal with her husband's kids. In this story, we had all the ingredients for the type of grit that turns athletes into legends that people talk about for generations. This story makes a person question, what could I accomplish if I had that type of grit? And that takes us to the second phase of Jeff's book report. What did I learn from reading The Boys in the Boat? We have all seen the rowing machines at the gym. Most of us walk right past them. We've also seen movies that feature a pretty lake scene with a rowing team cruising across at sunset. Some of us may have observed an actual race while watching coverage of different sports during the Olympics. These views may prompt thoughts such as, I wonder how tough rowing really is. This book convinced me that rowing is tough. The Olympic standard distance is 2,000 meters. The toll your entire body takes during such a race is the equivalent of playing 2 basketball games back to back. But the rowing only lasts for 6 minutes. A person who rows must be super tough. This book features Joe Rance, a man who grew up during the heart of the Great Depression. He lost his mother at a very young age, and his new stepmother told Joe's father, "It's your son or me." Joe's father chose, well, I'm not going to just spoil it, Jeff writes. While a freshman at the University of Washington, Joe auditioned for a spot on the freshman rowing team. He had the virtues that a parent wants to see in a child: self-sufficient, tough, a good student, and willing to push his body to the limits. Rowing requires teamwork. You cannot have 8 of the strongest people around getting into a boat and yelling, "Go!" if they don't work in seamless harmony. The boat can literally go in circles. In that way, Jeff writes, rowing resembles life. And then we go to the third part of the book report. How reading The Boys in the Boat will contribute to my success. When I started reading The Boys in the Boat, I didn't know how it would fit into my plan of only reading books that could elevate my mind and expand my vocabulary. As a nonfiction book with an entertaining story, I looked forward to reading it, but I didn't know how the story of Joe Rance and his rowing team could help me succeed in life. As I read through the pages, I learned a lot. First, to survive during the Great Depression, a person had to find ways to earn a living when few employers were hiring. That takes toughness, sacrifice, and creativity. I anticipate facing challenges of finding a good-paying job once I get out. It's hard, I suspect, for people with felony records. Many doors will automatically shut. If Joe Rance could survive and save money for college tuition during the Great Depression, I intended to make it happen as well. From the book, I would also learn how Joe worked with 8 other rowers, plus the boat leader, to make progress. How do you get 9 people, 8 rowers and 1 leader, to work in unison when many have never even stepped foot in a boat before? To answer that question, I learned the importance of practice. Joe would practice day and night in various conditions, and the climate during the fall and winter seasons of the Pacific Northwest on the water would not be ideal conditions for rowing. People on the team didn't make excuses. I could learn from that lesson, and I knew it will help me when I return to society. I will not disappoint my family. That means I must do everything necessary to learn and practice my craft so I can become a phenomenal employee for whoever hires me. This book also gave me an example of how to react when every muscle and every square centimeter of lungs screams and begs for rest. But Joe wouldn't stop. The teammate at the front of the boat kept asking for 10 more strokes. Joe would remember why he was there. As a member of the team, he was there for the person in front of him. He could always muster the necessary strength to persevere for his teammates. I felt as if I had reached my lowest point. Authorities arrested me and a judge sentenced me to prison. Once I transitioned to a federal prison camp, I found another gear. I would not disappoint my wife and family again. I will re-enter society better. And then he tells us a little bit about himself. So about Jeff Pica. My name is Jeff Pica, and I was sentenced to 34 months in federal prison camp in Oxford, Wisconsin, after committing and pleading guilty to a white-collar crime several years ago. Before self-surrendering on June the 6th, 2022, I promised my wife and family that I will exit prison a better husband, son, brother, Christian, future employee, and overall a better member of society, because I am going to better myself in 3 ways. Physically, not just for vanity purposes, but I want to become a better person. I need a better operating mind. Mentally, I want to read books, stories, papers, and magazines that educate and elevate my mind and expand my vocabulary. And 3, spiritually. For me, this means learning more from the Bible, but it can also mean whatever greater good you believe in. Shortly after self-surrendering and reading Michael Santos' book, Earning Freedom, Conquering a 45-year prison term, it inspired me to want to help just one person who was possibly heading to prison. So I started emailing my family posts that my sister uses as a blog on reddit.com called Letters from Federal Prison. I believe to date the blog has close to 7,000 views and shares, plus there are now 3 comments from people advising how the blog has helped them. This has motivated me to keep writing, and that's something I've never done before. So if you're in the Prison Professors community, that really begs the question, what are you doing to differentiate yourself from that image that many people out here in society have for people who've been in prison? I was in prison for 26 years, and every day I always thought about how am I going to come home? What can I do to create a record that would mean other people aren't seeing me for the decisions I made at the worst time of my life, but rather how I responded to those difficult times. That's what Prison Professors is all about. It's about showing people that you can start making decisions today that will show you've got real, stick-to-itiveness. You've got perseverance. You're resilient. You can overcome. And those skills really translate into any job. Every business wants somebody who's got the creative thinking power to overcome the challenges of life. And the challenge of a prison sentence is just another example of a challenge in life. So regardless of what the jail or the prison is offering you, we encourage you to read deliberately, to develop your vocabulary, to improve your writing and communication skills, because you may not find a very friendly job market when you get out, just like Jeff was acknowledging. So you've got to figure out, well, how can I be exceptional? How can I be extraordinary? How can I create my own jobs, my own income streams? These are lessons that we strive to teach at Prison Professors. We do hope that you will spend time on our website and learn everything you possibly can about preparing for the best possible outcome. If you're available to participate on our Friday and Saturday morning webinars, we encourage you to register so that you get the link and you can ask questions. My name is Michael Santos. We believe in you, but nobody should work harder than you for the success you are determined to become on the other side of this journey. So please visit us at prisonprofessors.com. Thanks so much.